2 outs, tying run on second. The ball comes off the bat and for half a second you lose it completely. Not because you're bad at this, but because the stadium roof cuts the sky into a strip of pure white right where the ball is supposed to be. And 38,000 people are already standing. And somewhere behind you, a voice in your own head says the things strangers have been saying about your position since you were 9 years old. Must be nice, easiest spot on the field. Your center fielder is sprinting too, angling over from his shallower starting position, but the geometry isn't in his favor tonight. The ball is drifting toward your line, your grass, your problem. There's no time to think the thought all the way through. There's only the next half second and whatever the last 20 years quietly taught your legs to do with it. You find the ball at the last possible second. Your spikes are already moving before your eyes finish the math. Your shoulder remembers an angle your brain hasn't consciously chosen in years. We'll come back to this play. Stay with it, because by the time we get back here, you'll understand exactly what that sentence, easiest spot on the field, actually costs to earn. Stage 1. Little League. You were 9, and the coach is walking down the line of kids, assigning positions the way a substitute teacher hands out worksheets, fast with no interest in your opinion. Pitcher and catcher go to the 2 kids whose dads are also coaches. Shortstop goes to the fastest kid. Second base goes to whichever kid is small enough that nobody worries about getting hurt. And you get sent out to the left field grass with a glove that's one size too big and a single instruction. Just stand there, nothing's gonna come to you. For an entire season, that's mostly true. 9-year-olds pull the ball or they don't hit it at all, and right field, the true island of this age group, gets more action than you do. You spend most innings picking at the grass, tracking dandelions, watching a beetle cross the dirt in foul territory, occasionally sprinting 20 feet for a routine fly ball that 90% of the league would also catch. Nobody claps differently for you than they do for the kid at first base. Your dad in the bleachers still cheers the same volume whether you do anything or not, which only confirms what you already suspect. This position doesn't count yet. This is the entire seed of the myth that will follow you for the next 15 years. Left field is where they put the kid who can't really play yet. Nobody in that dugout knows it yet, but you're the only kid out there who already understands distance. You can already tell just from the sound off the bat whether a ball is going to carry over your head or die in the grass in front of you. That's not coaching. Nobody taught you that. That's just standing alone in the same patch of dirt for 40 games and quietly learning to read a noise the way other kids learn to read a clock. Stage 2. High school or travel ball. By 16, the easy job story starts to crack, but slowly, and only for the people paying close attention. High school fields don't have symmetrical copy-paste dimensions like the pros. Some parks have a short porch in left, some have a fence so far back you could fit a second infield in foul territory. And now, for the first time, you have to learn that your job physically changes shape depending on which stadium you're standing in that Tuesday. You start charging balls in the gap with a coach screaming the cutoff man's name behind you, because in this league, nobody backs up the throw if you don't get there in time, and a single in the gap turns into a run scored from first if you hesitate for even a beat. You also start hitting harder than the other outfielders, and that's not a coincidence. Coaches everywhere quietly use left field as the place to stash the kid with the bat that can carry a lineup, but the arm that can't make every throw from the deepest part of the yard. You feel it. The praise after a home run is loud and immediate, 40 kids screaming your name at once, but the praise after a perfect read on a ball in the corner barely registers because nobody outside the dugout has the vocabulary to notice it happened. A scout in the stands writes down the home run. Almost nobody writes down the 11 correct first steps you took before it. Travel ball is where you meet recruiters for the first time, and you learn the specific, slightly insulting vocabulary of the position. Bat first, limited arm, profile fits a corner. Every one of those phrases is technically a compliment about your swing and a quiet demotion of everything else you do on defense. You start keeping a private scoreboard nobody else can see. Every diving stop, every read nobody mentioned, Every time the coach moved you 4 steps over before the pitch, and you were exactly where the ball ended up. College is the first place anyone times your throw with a stopwatch and writes the number down where it'll follow you into every future conversation about your defense. It's also the first place you learn that left field, at this level, has a job most fans have never heard of: cutting off the ball in the left center gap before it turns into a triple. Because center fielders at this level are fast, but not always faster than the ball. And when they're not, the only thing standing between a double and a run is the angle you took before anyone else even reacted. You learn the sun field. Not every park has it. It depends entirely on which direction home plate faces. But when you draw one, the sun sits directly over the upper deck in late afternoon starts. And for about 40 minutes a day, you are catching fly balls by memory and peripheral motion, because looking straight at the ball means looking straight into a white-hot circle that makes your eyes water on contact. Coaches don't talk about this in interviews. They just quietly stack their best afternoon game outfielders in whichever corner gets the worst sun that day. And more often than not, it's you. Because somebody decided years ago that the position with the easy reputation could absorb the hardest 40 minutes of the schedule, and nobody would ask questions. Your shoulder starts to ache differently than it used to. Not an injury, just the new permanent hum of having to throw from a deeper angle than the kid in center, because your job is to get the ball to third base or home from a starting position that's already working against the geometry. Nobody labels this as hard, they just expect it, the same way they expect the lights to turn on at night without thinking about the wiring underneath the field. There's also the bunt coverage nobody warns you about until your first sacrifice bunt situation with a man on second. In some parks, with a left-handed hitter up and the third baseman crashing hard to field the bunt, it's the left fielder who has to sprint in and cover third base. A full diagonal sprint across foul territory while the rest of the stadium is watching the infield. Miss that rotation once, and a routine sacrifice turns into a runner standing on an uncovered bag. Nobody in the bleachers ever clocks why you're suddenly 40 feet from where you started the play. Stage 4, Single A. Pro ball starts here, and so does the bus. 8, 9, sometimes 11 hours overnight between cities you'll forget the names of by August. And you play the next day on no real sleep because the schedule doesn't care that you didn't get one. The myth follows you onto the bus, too. Somebody's older cousin still says it whenever you go home for a week in the off-season. Must be nice. You just stand out there. What just standing out there actually means at this level, knowing, before the pitch is even thrown, what the count is, what the hitter's pull tendencies are, where your center fielder is going to be leaning, and adjusting your own positioning 4 or 5 steps in either direction, silently, constantly, pitch after pitch, for 9 innings, in front of maybe 800 people in a town you'll never see again after this road trip. You're not chasing the ball. You're supposed to already be standing where it's going before it's hit. When you're wrong, everyone sees it, because a ball lands where you weren't. When you're right, nobody notices, because the play just looks routine, and routine in this sport is the one word that erases the work that produced it. You're making the minor league per diem, not a salary that means anything yet. Splitting a clubhouse spread of gas station sandwiches with 11 other guys chasing the same call-up, and the bus rolls on to the next town regardless of whether you went 3 for 4 with 2 diving catches or 0 for 4 the night before. This is Stage 5, Double A. This is the level where the league starts separating the players who can really do this from the players who only looked good doing it against worse competition. The gaps in the outfield get smaller because the hitters get smarter, which means your reads have to get sharper, not slower. You start tracking balls off the bat by sound alone, in stadiums where the lighting budget clearly stopped at good enough, and where certain swings genuinely make you lose the ball in the air for a full second. You also start running into the wall for real, for the first time. Not the chain-link backstop of high school, but actual padded outfield walls that still hurt plenty when you misjudge the distance at full sprint. You learn your specific wall, the one in your home park, like a driver learns a blind curve, where it angles, where it's higher than it looks from the infield, where the warning track runs out 2 steps sooner than your instincts expect on a humid night. Get it wrong here, and it's not a highlight reel, it's a trainer's table and a missed series. Road trips make it worse, not better, because every park's wall is a different riddle. One city has a wall that kicks balls back toward the infield at a sharp angle, turning a routine double into a play where you have to read a carom in real time, with 0 film on it beforehand, in front of a crowd that has no idea this particular geometry exists. You learn it by getting it wrong once, badly, on a Tuesday nobody outside that city will ever remember, and getting it right every single time after. The phrase easy position stops being something strangers in the stands say and starts being something teammates at other positions say, half joking when they're tired and you're not. The second baseman, after a long extra innings night, tells you that you've got it easy out there with the grass and the quiet. You stop correcting him out loud. You just keep the list a little longer. Stage 6, AAA. One phone call away now, and everyone in the clubhouse knows it, which makes every single game feel like an audition that never quite ends, including the ones in front of 40 fans on a Tuesday in April. The league here is fast enough that limited arm isn't a throwaway scouting phrase anymore. It's the actual gap between a runner holding at second and a runner scoring. And you feel that gap in real time, on contact, every time a ball gets in the corner with a man on first, and a coach somewhere is already writing your arm strength grade into a report. You learn the politics of the position too, the kind that explain everything in one clean fact. For decades, the sport's top fielding award didn't even separate outfielders by spot. It lumped every outfielder into one undifferentiated pool. 3 trophies for outfield, no distinction between left, center, and right, which meant a center fielder's highlight reel speed could quietly outvote a left fielder's harder, less visible reads for years at a time, because the voters were never even asked to compare the right things. It took until 2011 for that award to finally split left, center, and right into their own separate lanes. You didn't know that history at 9 years old, standing in the grass with the too big glove. You know it now because it explains, in one clean fact, exactly why nobody ever had the vocabulary to notice what you actually do out there. You also learn this every single series, on tape. At the highest level of the minors, every team you face has at least one outfielder posting genuinely elite range at arm numbers specifically out of left field. Real measurable proof that easy was never the right word for this job. It was just the word people used when they hadn't been asked to prove otherwise. Stage 6B, the near miss. September comes, rosters expand, and for 3 days, your name is in every group chat your family has. Your manager pulls you aside before a getaway game, and for a second, the entire conversation feels like the one you've been waiting 6 years for. It isn't. The team needed a reliever, not an outfielder, and somebody 2 lockers down gets the flight while you get a pat on the shoulder and a "stay ready." You drive the team van back to the apartment you share with 3 other guys making the same per diem, and you don't sleep, not because you're angry, but because your body genuinely cannot tell the difference yet between almost and never. The thing nobody tells you about this exact moment? It's the same emotional weather as misjudging a ball in the sun, just stretched out over 3 days instead of 3 seconds. You lose the thing you were tracking. You find it again. You keep moving anyway, because the alternative is standing still in the grass, waiting for a ball that eventually always comes. Stage 7, MLB First Call-Up. The call comes on a random Tuesday, not a movie script moment. A coach pulls you into an office mid-laundry cycle and tells you to pack for the airport, and your hands are shaking around a duffel bag for reasons that have nothing to do with nerves about the actual game. The first big league paycheck, after taxes and dues, isn't close to what people assume. Rookies under team control earn a flat league minimum salary no matter how good the first month looks, which in modern terms still lands under $1 million a year. Life-changing money compared to the bus and the gas station sandwiches, and a rounding error compared to the actual stars on your own roster. Your first nationally televised mistake happens fast and gets replayed slower, frame by frame, with a graphic circling your glove. A ball you'd have caught blind in AA skips off your leather because the stadium background is a sea of white shirts in the upper deck, and you simply lose it for a quarter second longer than you're used to. The internet has an opinion within the hour, posted from a phone by somebody who has never once stood in a corner outfield with the sun directly over the roofline. Nobody in that conversation has ever played the position. Everybody has one anyway. What they don't see, the very next inning, you take 3 full steps toward the line before the pitch even leaves the pitcher's hand because you clocks the count, the hitter's spray chart, and your center fielder's body language. And the ball goes exactly where you guessed it would. The broadcast calls it routine. It was not routine. It was the entire job, working correctly in real time, which is precisely why it looked like nothing happened at all. Years pass. You're not the rookie anymore. You're the guy the rookie outfielders quietly study before games, because by now, your reads are good enough that the rest of the defense can play a step shallower behind you, trusting you to get to the ball nobody else would reach in time. Your name is attached to a real number now, the kind of multi-year deal that puts you in the $20 million range, the tier that league-wide only a few dozen players ever reach, the tier where a player isn't just earning a paycheck anymore, he's earning the kind of security that buys his parents a different kind of retirement and his kids a childhood he never had on the bus. And the myth is still there. It just changes shape at this altitude. Now it's not, "you don't do much," it's, "you're overpaid for standing in the grass," said by people glancing at a 4-second highlight clip instead of watching all however many pitches you tracked that night, the 4 times you adjusted your positioning before contact and nobody noticed, the 1 ball in the 6th inning you ran down at a dead sprint with your back half turned to the infield, trusting a read you built over 20 years instead of your own eyes, because by now, you trust the read more than the sight of the ball itself. You do interviews now, and the same 3 questions come up every season, in the same order, from reporters who weren't even covering the team when you were riding the bus. How does it feel to make that much money to play left field? Do you think the position is underrated? What do you say to fans who think you have it easy? You've stopped getting annoyed by the 3rd one. You just described the play from 2 nights ago, the one where you started moving before the ball was hit, the one the broadcast called nothing, and watched the reporter's face change slightly every single time, like it's the first time anyone's ever explained the job to them in actual words instead of a stat line. Return to the 9th. So the ball, the white strip of sky, the sound of 38,000 people standing up at once, the voice in your head repeating a sentence strangers have been saying since you were 9. You get there, glove out, full extension. The ball lands a half second before your body does, and for 1 frame, you're horizontal, 6 inches off the warning track, holding a baseball that ends the inning, ends the threat, and, for tonight, ends the game. The broadcast will call it a diving catch. What it actually was, every level, every overnight bus, every misjudged Sunfield, every AAA series against an outfielder who could have made the exact same play, every silent step you took before the pitch was even thrown, all of it arriving at the exact same coordinate at the exact same second, on purpose, like it was never an accident in the first place. You stand up, you toss the ball into the stands. Somewhere in that crowd, there's a kid wearing a glove that's 1 size too big, who just got told by a coach to go stand out and left because nothing's going to come to him. It will. And nobody's going to call it easy when it does. Not anymore. Not after this. That's left field. the position everybody calls easy until they're the one standing under the sun field with the game on their glove. If this one hit different, smash like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you brought someone along for this video who doesn't know baseball yet, go send them our last one, the complete beginner's guide to every basic baseball rule. See you next time.